Have you ever been riding your bike and you just your lever's just a bit limp? It's not as doesn't get as stiff as it used to, if you know what I mean. Today I'm gonna fix that. So this is my 1998 SLS 600 phaser. I bought it for a mate of mine as a bit of a project. It was unloved, left out in the rain, not really looked after in any way, shape or form. He hadn't serviced it for the 2 and a bit years that he had it. So I bought it as a bit of a project for me to teach myself how to fix things up, service a bike, change parts on it without ruining my lovely commuter over there. So if I need to leave this in bits, I can do, it's not a problem. So I was riding this the other day, I went and got it MOT'd, yes, and it passed. And I realised the front brakes, the rear brakes were binding a bit, so I've had those all off. I've had the caliper off, I've pulled it all apart and redone the whole thing. The front is fine, but they're a little bit, I mean, there's a little bit of sponginess to the lever. So today I'm going to show you how to bleed the brakes. Now this is a non-ABS model, obviously because it's 1998, it's older than my little brother. But with ABS models, they vary slightly, so you have to take the ABS sensor off and things like that. So make sure you look up how to remove the ABS sensor from your bike properly before you start. But yeah, let's get cracking on this. It's quite a laborious process. It's not incredibly interesting, but to get this done at a workshop, depending where you go, full system rebleed might cost you 50, 60 pounds, or up, depending where you go. Whereas doing it at home is a quick job, it's quite easy to do, you just need to know how to do it. The reason you do this is over time, the brake fluid degrades. It's like anything, the oil will degrade if it sits there, same with the brake fluid, same with various other things. It degrades, it's not as efficient anymore, the boiling point lowers, so they don't work as well, and you'll find you get the dead lever. But also air can work its way into the system. So the main process of it is getting the air out of the system, but also replacing all the old fluid. So brand new fluid is almost clear, it's gold / amber in colour, whereas old stuff looks brown, it doesn't look as good, it looks a bit, it looks worse wear basically. So what we're going to do today, we're going to flush out the old fluid. There's no, I don't think there's any air bubbles in this, but we'll find out, won't we? First of all, because I say first things first a lot and I get people taking the piss out of me for that. So first of all today, it's first of all. Brake fluid is really nasty stuff. So you want to cover up paint, any painted surfaces. If you've got a nice floor, you want to cover the floor. Don't wear your best clothes. So you just do not want to risk it. So what are you going to need to do this? Obviously, new brake fluid. Now this is a Castrol .4. It will say in your manual what it recommends you using. However, .4 tends to work for a lot of bikes. So there's that. You will also need a spanner. Now you can check this against the bleed nipples on your bike. And then you can buy specific tools for this. However, they're about 30 or 40 pounds, complete waste of time. What you need instead is an old bottle. So this is an old muck off clean bottle, and a length of tube. You see that? Now what I've done, this is for the waste brake fluid. As you can see, there's some floating around in the bottom there. Look at it, this disgusting. You want to be careful because this can pop off. So you want to get, I've cut a hole in there and put the fluid in there so it's not going to go anywhere, and zip tied it on. And then a handful of old rags. So now you've got everything you need. What we're doing here is just undoing the top of the reservoir. As you can see, the towel is surrounding it. Hopefully there won't be any points where the fluid will leak. If this comes off, thank you. Just pop that there. So what you'll find in most brake reservoirs is you'll get a plastic and potentially a rubber bit to it. Let's just pop that off. Yeah, so this one's got both. So it's got the plastic bit there, over there. And then it's got this rubber sleeve. I think these are just to stop the fluid coming up too high, potentially leaking out, but also it will help with the pressure, I assume, as well. Pop those over there. So as you can see in there, that is the old brake fluid, really rank in colour. Now what happens, get rid of that, what can happen, I don't know whether it will happen with this, no, luckily. So with some master cylinders, when you pump the lever to bleed the brakes, you will get bubbles popping up in here. Now the more powerful ones will actually can actually shoot brake fluid out of there. I've had it before when I've bled the brakes on this beauty, where I've pumped the lever and it shot up, gone in my eyes, and I've spent the next 40 minutes basically trying to rinse my eyes out. So the best thing to do to avoid that is, once all your internals are out, all the rubber bits that you saw me take out a second ago, take your lid and just rest it on top, because if for any reason, I mean it's already on my fingers, if for any reason it does pump up, it's going to hit the lid and go back into the thing, and you don't have to worry about it. So what we're doing here, ignore the state of these are getting changed as part of the project like I mentioned before. So this is your bleed nipple. You'll have one of these on each caliper. Sometimes you will have two depending on the caliper. Take the rubber cap off, get rid of that. Now what you want to do, essentially what you are doing is you are compressing the lever, cracking this open, closing it, depressing the lever. So get your bottle, you want to put that on there. Now if you can get a clip for that, that will be perfect, because that can come off depending on the pressure. Depress lever, crank that open, close, release, depress, crank, close, release. So like I said, it is quite laborious, but essentially you are depressing the lever, crank, close, release the lever. So one thing you must make sure you do is top your reservoir up all the way through, because if you get air in the top of that, because it's got no liquid in it, you've got to bleed the whole system again. Really inconvenient. But what you will see as well is, if the lever has been quite soft, as I've been explaining, you'll see small air bubbles in this. To replace the entire fluid, you need to keep topping up, keep repeating the process until this murky coloured liquid turns to the clear stuff that you saw out of this. So once you've done that, you should have, the lever should be getting quite nice and stiff again. You should have no difference in the brake pressure. It should be solid every time you move it. And that will carry on through there. Do the same for this one, and you basically repeat the process for both the calipers. And obviously on the rear brake, when you bleed that, you're pressing the rear brake lever rather than the front brake lever. Depending on your system, some front brakes are joint. This has got separate braided lines going up to the master cylinder, but some have a joint thing, so you'll need to bleed one first and then the other. You may find that the pressure in the lever doesn't return until you've bled both calipers, and then that should be all done. Make sure you test it on the way out, because you may have got air into the system without knowing. If you do and it does still feel spongy, re-bleed it. It's better safe than sorry. And last thing to do just before you pack up, top the brake fluid reservoir up to the line, and then you're just replacing all the parts that you took out. So there's that, plastic cover, and then the metal cover. I'm going to try and do this one-handed. Get that one up. Nice and tight. That isn't going anywhere. Wipe it off. Job done. I hope that's helped. You should now have a lovely stiff lever. If you haven't, like I said, you can repeat the process as many times as you feel necessary until you get all the air bubbles out. Hopefully that's helped you out. Hopefully it saved you a bit of money as well. As I said, I hope you enjoyed that. If you have got any questions about it, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will see you next time.